This year we wanted to allow you to hear from female success stories. Lou Hardy sat in a seminar, not unlike this one 6 years ago, and she had a dream. She'll share her story, but she worked in the military. She was a mum with quite a few kids, and she wanted to do better. She wanted to change her career, change her life. She wanted to retire at a young age. She became a 21st Century member, started studying the strategy on the home study. She got into the property market using the advice we taught, how to negotiate property. She got into share renting. She got into trading. And she got into building internet businesses that we taught her. And I got a phone call probably about a little over a year ago, and she said, Jamie, I really just want to thank you. I wrote down a goal in the seminar many years, 6 years ago, or 4.5 years ago it was at the time, that I wanted to one day not only become a millionaire, but I wanted $1 million in my bank account. And I'm just ringing you today to let you know that day has arrived, and today I have $1 million in my bank account. So give her a hand for that, by the way. So Lou gets to be on this stage. She has a PhD in results. She's not someone that's going to teach you theory. She's someone, and she's a great example. So she'll just share her story very quickly of how she's done that. But I've also asked her one of the strategies that she does, which many of our staff and team do, and many of my friends, is buy US property. So I've asked her to do a quick presentation with you about US property. I promised that yesterday. It's a number 2 investment strategy. You're going to see some examples. And she's going to bring up a couple of our team from the United States of America as well to share briefly with you. You're going to learn also from Warren Blackberry briefly on US tax and Australian tax accounting very briefly. And then you can see those guys if you've got more detailed questions. So will you please help me welcome to the stage a very big warm welcome for one of our female presenters, Miss Lou Hardy.
Oh, that was a bit of an energy boost. How's everyone feeling in Brisbane tonight? Oh, that must be the Melbourne crowd that have flown up. How's Brisbane feeling tonight? Oh, that must have been the South Australians that have flown up. What about Queensland, Brisbane crowd tonight? How are you feeling? Oh, that's a bit better. I couldn't even get the Beyonce song to get you up and running. So, I'm just going to take probably 2 minutes now just to quickly go through how I started with 21st Century. And it was just sitting in a seminar similar to this years ago. But at the time I was in the military, as many of you have known. And it was about the 18-year mark. I'd done 18 years in the army. My husband was deployed on operations regularly. 6 months home, 4 months away, or 6 months away, 4 months home. And that happened nearly 12 years straight. So something had to change. Who's ever been in a career that you sort of go, okay, I've earned my stars and stripes, I've got up to where I want to, but there was nothing driving me as much anymore. So I got online. I got onto Google. So do you guys have Google up here? Yeah, a couple of you, excellent. So I got onto Google, right, and I typed in things like how to make money, how to get rich, multi-level marketing companies. Who's done that before? Actually, who did that to find 21st Century, and that's how they came? Yeah, many people did. So I saw this skinny little farm guy talking about something. He's now grown since then. And yeah, I ordered Jamie's DVD online. It came online, and then I pretty much watched the DVD. It opened my mind to what I wasn't actually doing. I had zero financial intelligence, zero. I knew that a lot of people were making money from trading and from this and that, but I had no clue how to do it. I was in debt, and I had, nice military medals, but they actually don't convert to much in the civilian world, which I later on found out. So I made a decision. I did Jamie's home study. I took massive and immediate action. I paid $50 a month, I think a week, a repayment plan. The home study arrived, and then I implemented that. And as a result of doing that over 4 or 5 years, my first strategy was his core one, which was back then it was share renting. Who's heard of that term before? Yep, share renting. So, and then my major one came from just modelling different people. As I said, I was flat out just doing stuff in the army, training soldiers, sending them off, and having babies, right? So I've only got 3 children, well, 4 if you count my husband. So he's a bit of a baby. But yeah, I downloaded Jamie's books. And then I started modelling from people that had immediate success or had success in their field. Now, many of these people you would relate to, you know them, Ida Buttrose, Tony Christensen, Lisa Curry-Canny, Baxter Boy, Dr. John DiMartini. So just simple things of attributes that they display that I actually wanted to model in my life as well. Jamie, Nick Halleck, that was the first trading program, advanced program I did, because remember the home study, guys, is laying the foundation. Okay, laying the foundation, understanding the basic structure of the things, how money works, getting emotionally intelligent as well, or financially fit. So when you do have a strategy placed in front of you, you know when to actually pick that up. So trading, because I wanted cash flow, so trading was my main one. And then the next strategy I got into was internet marketing. Has anyone heard of Armand Morin? Armand Morin is the world's leading and most profitable internet marketer on the planet. So one thing I did learn from Jamie's home study was to model success, obviously find mentors, not just, rich cousins or tips from friends. It was actually to model the best people on the planet. So rather than just go to the best people in Australia, I Googled who is the most profitable and the most savvy internet marketer. So I went and did all of Armand's programs, and it's with such delight that we've got Armand, who's flown all the way over from the US, and he speaks directly after me on the most craziest, sexiest internet marketing strategies on the planet. In fact, I actually went over to Armand's house a month ago, just flew over there because I wanted to advance my own personal skills. It wasn't a company thing, it was a personal thing. And internet allows you to become really creative, right? So what you want to do is with the home study, there's your building foundation. Then you pick a strategy that works for you, whether it's real estate or trading or internet. Then you structure it with the accounting guys. Then you find your finance, and then you just implement them. You can either make money or you can make excuses. So over time, as you can see, there's people along the way that have been instrumental. Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street, he's got an amazing story. Kel Butcher, Greg Secker. So all of these guys have had a massive impact on my life, and it pretty much as a result of, one day I was in the army. I made the decision in 18 months' time I would retire. I absolutely did, because I implemented all of these strategies. Now, the only difference between me doing that, I could have been at the crossroads and went, okay, I might stay in the army for another 20 years, or I'll get out. But because I made a decision and I had a massive, strong, burning desire to retire and to spend more time at home, this is my husband who has a massive role. He's still in the military, so he spends a lot of time overseas. So, he's got things to worry about, so I thought I'd better focus on the stuff in the family. So that's my gorgeous little family. Is that a beautiful family or what? How hot are they? My favourite is the youngest one. The others are a bit testing, but Rain's my favourite. I don't mind that big, tall, dark guy on the left too. He does it for me still, which is good. And this year we celebrate our 20-year wedding anniversary. So, when people say, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that, I've got too many children, I work too late, that is absolute bullshit. Because it is. Because look, here's me, an active serving soldier with 3 children, my husband deployed overseas. Now, the deal that Jamie was talking about, the home study taught me how to negotiate with the banks, how to get more money. I ended up getting so much money together for this property that I saw. My husband at the time was in Afghanistan, and I rang up the 21st Century Group, asked them how I could negotiate to get a really good deal on this. All the answers were actually in the home study. We managed to, I found this house, and when you drive past something that you really, really want, and I imagined my family in this home. It was a big acre block, it was near Swanbourne Beach, right near the water. It was close to work, close to schools, but I needed to have that because I was living in a military accommodation. So I wanted that, but I wanted it for when my husband come home from overseas. And as you know, it was a real thing in my experience in my military life that, soldiers die. And, unfortunately, last week up here in Brisbane, you guys felt that cruel loss of those 5 young soldiers up here. So, my driving reason why that I needed to make money and get that house, so I negotiated the house from 700 down to 600 over a 6-week period. Right, we ate baked beans, tuna sandwiches for the next 2 years. My husband gets back from overseas and says, oh my God, Lou, what have you done? He wasn't like excited and happy. He's just going, oh my God, man, how are we going to pay this? Don't worry about it. We'll work out the details later. And 2 years, it was a bit of a struggle, but in the end, I ended up selling that house when we moved to Melbourne last year and made, I sold it for 1.46 million. So that's where. But it wasn't because I had to ring up my husband and ask for permission. You ask for forgiveness. You don't ask for permission. But what I did is because I wanted to, I needed a why. My driving why was the reason that I've succeeded. I don't worry about details. I'm accountable for everything I do. Have I lost money trading? Absolutely. Who here has lost money from trading? Hands up high. Does it feel good? Nah. But did it stop you from doing it? Absolutely not. You have to be accountable and responsible for what you do. Now, the strategy that I'm going to bring on with an amazing team in the next couple of seconds is all about US property. It's just another part of things that we do. I've used Conrad's team to secure 3 Australian properties. I jumped on a bus, they drove me around. I used the finance department to fund it. I used Warren Black to actually create limited liability companies to purchase US properties, to create company structures and discretionary trusts, not to eliminate tax. I don't want to eliminate tax. I'm happy to pay it because we need police force and we need the roads and we need trains, etc. I'm happy to pay tax. However, I'm not an idiot. I like to actually reduce it. Who likes to reduce their tax? So we have to pay it. Okay, let's just get over it, right? And you need to just get over the bumps, focus on what it is you want. If you want to make a shit ton of money trading, make it. If you want to buy a shitload of properties in Australia, buy them. If you want to buy some more in the US, buy them. Remember that life will be over in a second. And unless you do something about something, particularly in one of these events, it's just not going to happen. And many people will miss out on different things and then they'll whinge and bitch and complain later. So that's all I say to you guys. You need to be accountable. You need to, if you see something you like, just go for it. Just do it. What's the worst thing that can happen? You'll actually learn something, right? And it's that growth and learning that is probably the most instrumental thing I had. And obviously modelling from people. And, this is what everyone's chasing. The most precious commodity we have is time. But everyone, like Laurel said yesterday, everyone's got the same amount of time. Is that true? Right? Some people just utilise it better. You can lay on the lounge watching Simpsons all day, or you can sit there eating donuts and getting fat, or you could get outside and actually live life and absorb it, suck it in, and just take it by the side things, right? So whatever you want to do, but you've just got to take massive action. So what I'm going to do now is... I don't think we're going for a break, are we, guys? We just push straight into US property. What we're doing is I'm going to show you an amazing strategy that some of you may have already started to do. But what we're going to do is we're going to tell you who we are within the US property group. Now, US property is just one component out of Jamie's dozen of companies, right? So US property division. So who we are, what we do, and how we actually go and buy properties in the US. Then I'm going to bring on our team. Right, and then you can ask them questions, and then many of you, the team that have come in from the US, they'll be here for the next 2 days, So you'll have the opportunity for members, 21st Century US property members, to actually book into appointments with them. We've already had people that have taken properties straight off this sale already for this weekend. They've brought over about 30 US properties, which we'll showcase tomorrow in the bonus room, but we'll be able to give you some property examples today. So we'll bring those guys up onto stage. And then we'll go through the total property solution that we have. And then for many of you who may want to come to the US. So some of you have already booked in. We're going to the US next month on a US boot camp. Why the US? Because one, we like to sort of have that lifestyle and enjoy life and also see the property. So we've got a lot of people coming. There's probably about 55 so far coming across. Last year, I remember, or the year before, we took them to Phoenix, Arizona to show them properties. Jamie's bought some, I've bought some. Many of our staff have bought some too. So, this is just another strategy, right? Okay, this is part of your balanced portfolio. So you've got some land. Some people have bought land in their self-managed super. Some people are trading share. Some people are doing a bit of internet marketing. Some people may have 1 or 2 US properties. Overall, what you want is a safe, secure, sound investment that's going to give you cash flow when you retire. Who wants that? Who really wants that? Who would like, or who actually would? Okay, let's ask the question a different way. Who wants to retire penniless? Hands up. Ooh, what? Penniless? No. Who would be happy with just even 10, 15% monthly coming in from whatever your income is in various strategies? Who would like to have an enormous investment portfolio mixed and bonded with Australian property and New Zealand property? USA property. Right, so if you want to do this stuff, like now is probably the best time to actually ever do this. Now, you've seen the presentations that we've done before. In a nutshell, what 21st century US property is our goal is aligned with Jamie's goal, is to educate you, right? We're going to educate you on where to buy in the country, what properties to buy, and how to actually go through the process. Now, we know that many people, many Australians would love to get into Australian real estate, but it may be still a little bit far out of their reach. So what's an average 3-bedroom house median price up here in Brisbane? 120? Is it? 500? Is that about right? 400 to 500? Right, so what's the rental return that you guys get up here in Brisbane? I don't know. 4%? 4%? All right, so look, in the US, many properties you are getting for the price of the stamp duty. So we don't pay stamp duty in there. But as I said, our goal is to teach you how to do this yourself, to go over to the US, to look at the areas, know where to buy, where not to buy, and make that choice yourself. Now, after that, most people are busy. Like, I don't want to do that. Why would I want to do that? Whereas when you have a service of a team that actually finds the properties, picks the best areas, gives you the property managers, helps you open the US bank accounts, set up your limited liability structures, hooks you up with your title managers, the insurance companies, finding the right and sourcing the right properties, actually renovating and refurbishing houses, because many houses were destroyed after the GFC once people had to hand their houses back. So some of the properties need to be renovated, but all of them you will not settle on the houses until they're actually tenanted. Now, if that saves massive time. Like me, I'm very, I try to do as much in a 24-hour period as possible. It sucks that I actually have to go to sleep, because sometimes when I go to sleep, it feels like I'm going to miss out on something. Who's ever thought like that? Because sometimes you just want to learn, and especially when you guys start learning a strategy, whether it's internet or whether it's trading or whether it's property, whatever it is. The thing is, if you get so absorbed in it, nothing else matters. You're just focusing on that because you want the result. Now, if you want to be like Jamie, myself, Conrad, the team, we are massively results focused. Right? So we don't worry about the fluffy stuff aside, right? We just know what our end state is, what is the result I want to achieve at the end, whether it's 12 months, 18 months, and you just head toward that, right? And you just keep it focused on that. So we've got a team that will actually do all of that. Now, as I said, my job is not to convince you to get these properties. You will be smart enough to recognise the opportunity yourself. And when you see some of the houses that I'm about to present, you'll probably just pass out. Like I passed out so quickly last year that I actually went and bought one straight off Ben before the herds actually got in. And myself and Jamie still do not always get the best properties firsthand, because our members will get them first. So this is our Australian team. These guys here are located in the Melbourne office. Now, many of you will have already spoken to them at some point. So we've got Joel Dobson, who heads up, he's the US property manager, and his administrator and consultant is Sunny. What a gorgeous name. But I wish he was from Brisbane. Sunny. So, but his job is he does all the settlement documents. He will help you set up your bank accounts, your limited liability company, help you with your finance, because some people have cash, right? So in a nutshell, we buy the house for you, we renovate and tenant it. You just make a decision which house you want. Then you go away. You get your finance, whether you've got a line of credit, your own money, self-managed super fund, which I'll bring up Warren later to talk about, or you can use US finance, which we're going to bring Ben and Tyre up to talk about that. Then I'm going to bring Kartik up, Kartik Gupta. He's our senior financial analyst for the group. So his job is to make sure that all the numbers are crunched correctly, so it's a viable option for the business, but also a viable option for you guys. Now, these are our US property team members. So Ben and Tyler, which I'll bring them on in a minute, and they're the acquisition team. So their job is to actually buy the properties and then deliver them. They buy them themselves. So if they don't sell, they still have the houses themselves. And also Rihanna, who also is in the property management group. Right, so the main reasons, now I want you to take as many notes as possible, because, you'll be able to learn this information and then you'll be able to make a better educated decision. So the main reasons we invest in the US is, one, capital appreciation. So the US real estate is at its lowest. Now, you don't need to be Einstein to understand that, but what you want to do is you want to see the trend of what it was to what it is now. Foreign exchange fluctuations will bring Kartik up to discuss that, and Ben to discuss that. And as Jamie said, now is the most perfect time to actually get in, because this is where you can double your money. You know, you can actually, just knowing the currency rate, because, for example, I bought a property maybe a month ago. It was a beautiful duplex with around 17% net return. And I stalled for 2 or 3 days because I'm a Forex trader, because the Australian dollar was just on parity, and I knew it was going to rebound, bounce back up to around $1.02, $1.03. So I just waited an extra couple of days, and I ended up saving myself $6,000, because then it went up to $1.04. So it's actually just understanding and knowing the timing and getting that right. And our guys, they can set up an account. So just say, what's the Australian dollar on now? Does anyone know, roughly? 105, yeah. So 105, it's been nice the last couple of days. So 105, that's just crazy returns for you guys. So everything is about timing, and the timing for us here in Oz is ridiculous. So what you want to be thinking throughout this presentation as I bring these guys on is, how can I get some of this? That's what I want you to really be thinking. How can I get some of this? Right? And using the currency exchange is a smart way of doing business. Okay, cash flow, high cash flow. Some of these places have got, you know, we'll show areas on the coast that have a lower rental return but a higher capital growth. Then we'll show you some of the Midwest ones which have crazy rental increases. So some of them from 15 to 20%, and so much so that we've had those returns for the last 18 months. And for our US Property Platinum members, you know, you guys will get that as a rental guarantee locked in. Now, no one can guarantee that rent. The reason we've done that is because we've got the evidence and the proof, because we've produced that for the last 18 months. So, you know, just a snapshot of the GFC. Most of you know all of this. You know, it was the worst crash in a 100-year low. Over 7 million homes foreclosed, right? People just booted out of their homes. You know, at one point there was 300,000 foreclosures per month, which created, you know, this is the biggest crash since 1930. And property prices have gone from, imagine like here in Brisbane, you've got your 500K house, and then a couple of months later, that house is now worth 80K. Would you actually look at doing everything you can to try and get into your next door neighbour's house? Absolutely. So people that are smart and can get their money organised and make that quick decision, successful people usually make fast decisions and change their mind slowly, right? They're the ones that see the opportunity and take it. Because you know that when the economy recovers, and who believes, hands up here, who believes that the economy is going to recover, the US economy? Okay. A third. Who believes it doesn't? It won't? Okay, a nice percentage. Who doesn't know? Who doesn't care? Who thinks I'm hot? All right, so a big swing towards rentals, and I'm going to bring the boys up because the boys are going to speak for about 20 minutes, and they're the locals on the ground. They know all of this stuff. So if you have any questions, you can feel free to give them to the guys at the back, and we'll have them answered. But what I've done is I've structured this presentation to answer every question that we always get for US property. So let's have a look at, as I said, I've got a dicky clicker. There we go. Now, look, I've just taken some screenshot of the weekend. As I said, you guys can go and do your due diligence. You're an intelligent, educated crowd, right? You can just go into Google. This was just taken on Thursday, some snapshots, but I just want you to have a look at, this is what local media is saying, and this is what Bloomberg and Wall Street Journal and, you know, CNBC, housing on the mend, investors cash in land deals on US housing picks up. So there is a trend that we know that the market went to crap, and now it is back on the rise. Housing market rising, but the price seems modest. It doesn't matter. It is still a movement upwards, right? The number of improving houses. So you can see that there's been an increase. You know, consumer confidence has increased. Kartik's going to bring up a really great video with Ben Bernanke, who's the head of the Fed Reserve over in the US, of different KPIs that he expects for his nation and for his banks. Now, we have certain KPIs that we expect from our suppliers, what they need to deliver us. You know, Jamie's company's been around for 13 years, and the reason it has is because our stuff is good and it works and people get a result, right? So, you know, we need to go into places where people are going to actually make some money and become raving fans. So US property's up over 2% over the last. Senate Democrats try to push a finance plan. So all of these are indicators that the market is on the rise. Right, here's a Dow Jones S&P release, which pretty much just shows you that it's gone up 1.2% in the last quarter. And then there's just a chart snapshot of the composite value of the housing market, where it was, and you can see there, 2008, it obviously crashed, and then it rebounded up, but then there's a slow incline in the amount of houses. So who here actually follows the fundamental investment strategies of Warren Buffett? A couple of you. Who here believes that Warren Buffett is a credible authority? Yep. For those people who didn't put your hand up, the dude hovers between 1, 2, and 3 most richest men in the world, right? Now, he's about 86, and most people use a lot of his financial advice to actually use in their business. So if we just play that, guys, that'd be great.
I would say that single-family homes are cheap now, too.
You would?
Yeah, single-family homes. But if I had a way of buying a couple 100,000 single-family homes and had a way of managing. The management is enormous. It's really a problem because they're one by one. They're not like apartment houses. So, but I would load up on them, and I would take mortgages out at very, very low rates. But if anybody is thinking about buying homes, 5 years ago they couldn't buy them fast enough because they thought they were going to go up, and now they don't buy them because they think they're going to go down, and interest rates are far lower. It's a way, in effect, to short the dollar because you can take a 30-year mortgage. And if it turns out your interest rate's too high next week, you refinance lower. And if it turns out it's too low, the other guy's stuck with it for 30 years. So it's a very attractive asset class now.
If you are a young individual investor at home and you have your choice between buying your first home or investing in stocks, where would you tell someone is the better bet?
If I thought I was going to live, if I knew where I was going to want to live the next 5 or 10 years, I would buy a home and I'd finance it with a 30-year mortgage. And it's a terrific deal. And if I was an investor that was a handy type, which I'm not, and I could buy a couple of them at distressed prices and find renters, I think that's, and again, take a 30-year mortgage. It's a leveraged way of owning a very cheap asset now.
A leveraged way of owning a very, very cheap asset. And you've got so many more things in your favour, particularly with the currency. Okay, so let's have a quick look at the areas that we're actually looking at the moment. And then the gentlemen, when I bring them up, they'll be able to break these down individually. But just as a broad overview, there's a map of USA. Okay, so you've got Arizona. You can see it on the left-hand side. We've got Kansas City. We've got Indianapolis. We've got Atlanta. And then we've got some other areas. So they will be able to pinpoint exactly why they actually break into those specific markets, rental markets and housing markets. But what I want you guys to pay attention to now is you'll be looking, some of you will be going, actually, yeah, I like this strategy, but I prefer a capital growth strategy. Hands in the room who are more capital growth focused, like especially the Aussie stuff. Yeah, so some of you are used to that and want to stick to that. Others of you may want to go into a cash flow, which is different selections. So let's have a look at that. So the capital growth areas are Phoenix, Arizona, and Atlanta. The cash flow, these are the ones with a higher, obviously, rental return of 15 to 20%, right? Kansas City, Missouri, Indianapolis, Indiana, East Chicago. So they're the ones that do have that higher rent. And like Jamie said, when the price, and if the price never goes up on the house, it doesn't really matter. You've got that nice 15 to 20, 16, 17% net rent coming in, and that's all that you really care about. Like when I selected the properties, one, did I ring up my husband and tell him? No, I didn't. I made a decision. I looked at the numbers. I crunched the numbers and just went, where am I going to get the cash for this one from? Did I have to move money? Did I have to pull some out of my bank? Did I use the property that I bought the year before as leverage to buy the next one? Okay, so capital growth. It's got less, like in some of those areas, have a lower rental return of around 8-10%. The cash flow areas like Kansas have the higher one, or some of you may be interested in both, right? So looking that have a nice balance of both, which is Atlanta and Kansas. And then the boys will just mention about some pending properties that we have. So these are properties that we're looking at for possible future investments, right? So We're not going in there right yet because of a number of criteria or a number of things need to change first, but they're sitting there ready for us to look at in the near future. And then obviously there's places where we actually don't touch, right? These are empty cities. These are places with high crime rate, low rebound. So, a lot of people, as I said, you've heard stories where people have gone over there, they've paid their own airfares, they've gone over there uneducated, they've landed in LA and gone, okay, where should I buy? Doing a wee bit of due diligence from this end, but then taking a massive risk of going over there uneducated, not knowing where to go and not knowing who to meet when you get over there, not having a team to actually help you organise this. That's where, and that's the only time people get into trouble, is when they go off, they think they can do it all themselves. There is no I in the word team, is there? Right? I am all about teamwork. Right, and I'm all about efficiency, and I have my total faith and belief in the pros, because my head is only this big. I can't jam any more in. I can't jam everything. I don't know all of their knowledge, right? So I'd much rather ride off the knowledge of someone else, which saves me time, because time, as I said, precious commodity. So who wants to meet? Do they look good or what? Has anyone met them at the moment? They've been upstairs. So after the event, people have the opportunity to have booking and appointments, but they'll also be able to, they're located on the top floor under the US Property banner. So these guys have actually travelled all the way over from the US. They've arrived in the last day and a half. Also, Armin's the same, so they're probably a little bit jet lagged, but they're going to give you a magnificent content about where to buy, what to buy, how to buy, and how to do it, and how not to do it. So I want you to stand up. I want you to give them a big, warm Brisbane welcome to Ben Walls and Tyler Deegan.
How's everybody doing? Good. Some excitement left in the room? Good. Happy to hear it. We're maybe a little bit jet lagged, but we're very happy to be here. I've been here a few times speaking on U.S. property. I'm thrilled to be back. I love my family here in Australia. Tyler's here with me, my partner here, and we're excited to be here. I think you're going to learn a lot. And hopefully you take something away from this today.
So Ben, firstly, just tell us a bit about yourself, just so the guys get to know who you are as a person.
I'm 33 years old. I live in Kansas City, Missouri. I started buying property right when I got out of college. And I started buying investment property, rental property for my own. In fact, I owned investment property before I owned personal property. One of the things that struck me back when I was a junior in college, I read a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. One of the driving things or sort of things that I took home from that book was it's real difficult to go wrong in real estate when you have performing assets and you buy right, okay? So one of the things we'll be talking about is where we buy, what we do with the finishes, all the things, and just basically how you can buy right. And so again, very difficult to go wrong when you buy right. Throughout, when I first started buying rental property, I got into a lot of different things. There's so many ways to earn an income inside of property. You can take contracts and assign them for a profit. You can put sandwich leases together. You can negotiate short sales and flip that way. So all of these different things that I've done and been involved with. And then a couple of years ago, Tyler and I made our acquaintance, and Tyler was doing a lot of real estate. I'll let him tell you about some of the things he's done. He and I made a partnership together, and we started doing business together and really honed in on this turnkey cash flow model that we're still doing now today. And we've just sort of been perfecting that over the years, and so now here we are. And we do business all over the world. We have a decent-sized company. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but that's sort of my story in a nutshell. So.
Excellent. Tyler, stand up and
hello.
you just...
I guess you can tell I'm from America from my accent. So I grew up on a farm in the middle of America with absolutely nothing, kind of similar to Jamie. We didn't own a farm. We actually worked on the farm as farm hands. So from a very young age, I didn't have a whole lot, but my mom used to take me down in the city, and I would see all these big buildings and these houses, and I remember I was always like, who owns these buildings? Who owns these houses? I just loved real estate from, I don't even know when, maybe since I was 5 years old. So I've always, in my mind, been in real estate, so maybe I've been in real estate my whole life. But around the age of 18, I graduated from college, and I started doing the same thing like Ben. I started buying houses. I leveraged 20 credit cards, I think, almost. I went in America back then, you could get credit cards and take cash advances. And I took cash advances on like 15 or 20 credit cards to buy a house. And I flipped that house. I'm going to college, and my friends are like, what the hell are you doing, taking all these loans and flipping these houses? But I started making money. And by the age of 23, I'd had $1 million cash, liquid in the bank, and I was such a tight person. I didn't spend any money. I remember this banker that I was doing business with was like, Tyler, you know, we like you and we want to do a lot of business with you, but you know, you drive a 1994 Ford and you live in this $200 a month apartment and all this stuff. I said, well, you know, I got $1 million in the bank. You know, I'm 23. I've lived my life frugally. But then by the time I was 27, I had almost $20 million. I flipped thousands of houses.
$20 million. Give him a hand at 27.
Yeah. Well, hold on.
Oh, that's more.
By the time I was 27 and a half, I had almost $0 or maybe negative. Because I learned a lot of things. I kind of grew up in the school of hard knocks in real estate. No one taught me anything. I just was a young man who was smart and had a dream. I mean, literally, I never read a book. I never took a class. I didn't do anything. I just had some ideas, and I started using those ideas. And then I started reading books later on. I'm thinking, everything that's in this book I've done myself, which is already in my head. And not only that, but I took them to another level. So 27, I got about $20 million. 27 and a half, I got zero. I was a little too aggressive. I made some mistakes. The global financial crisis comes into play. And I lost a lot of that money. I was over-leveraged in places like Miami and California and some places that really got hurt. But I learned my lesson, and here I am years later, and all of a sudden I'm almost back to where I was. But really the moral of the story here is this, and I don't want to bore you guys with my life. I'm not trying to do that. But for me, I absolutely love real estate because it's a physical asset that you can buy. Right now, we can buy an asset for as cheap as it's ever been. It's not a stock, it's not a bond, it's not an option. It can't go away. It's a piece of land with a house, a structure on it. And for me, I can touch that, smell that, and feel that, and I love that. I can manipulate it. I can make that into something. So that's why I love real estate above everything else. And right now is the best time to buy, at least for an American property, because it's as low as it's ever been, just like Warren Buffett said. So I just see opportunity all over the place. And I don't want to bore you with any more about me. We'll talk about the properties, but that's kind of my background. So thank you.
So give him a round of applause. That's a beautiful story. Okay, guys, so what we'll do is we're going to go through, ask Ben and Tyler different questions, and they'll be able to target. Well, if you can tell us or tell the audience which areas you actually go into and why you actually target those specific ones.
Sure. We have a few cities. Lou mentioned them previously on the map there. Kansas City, Indianapolis, Atlanta, Phoenix, Arizona. We really target two main products. We want a high cash flow product that has some moderate appreciation ability, and then we want a lower cash flow product, or not necessarily worried so much about the cash flow, but we want a high appreciative product. And so we're looking for markets that offer that. Now, the Midwest in particular is a unique sort of versus coastal markets in that it's so stable. The stability of the Midwest, you don't see a lot of population increasing and decreasing. You don't see housing, even in the crash, it didn't crash that much, and when everything was appreciating, it didn't appreciate that much. It was a modest gainer. Now, within the Midwest, there's several cities. We've narrowed down Kansas City, Indianapolis, and St. Louis as our three main Midwest cities. The economics surrounding these cities are very diverse economically. There's several industries that feed into these cities. We're looking for cities that have high year-over-year appreciation in rents. Indianapolis, for example, 11.1% year-over-year rent rates. Kansas City, 9.6% year-over-year rent rate increases. And also, they're below average in unemployment statistics. So it gives us stability. Again, when we're looking for the Midwest cities and the higher cash flow, it's nice to have high cash flow, but let's make sure that we're in a city that has a sustainable economic outlook. We don't want a city like Detroit, let's say, that's hinged on one particular market or one particular industry, the automobile industry. Now, the houses look sexy. You can get a two-story brick, and it's cheap, and you see these returns through the roof. But you know, what's the rest of the block look like? Yeah. What's the rest of the neighborhood look like? Is there longevity in that asset? And probably not. And so that's what we're looking for with the higher cash flow markets. We're looking for those particular cities. With the high appreciation market, what we're really looking for is houses that are very desirable to live. Phoenix, Arizona, for example, we've been doing a lot of business in Phoenix. We've sort of tapered a little bit out of that market, and the reason is because the prices have just jumped up. We were real heavy in the market 2 years ago. We did a lot of business, and we sat right here on stage and said, look, guys, Phoenix, Arizona, if you want capital appreciation, this is where you need to be now today. We've seen Phoenix, Arizona jump 30%, in the last couple of years in prices. We have members here that have bought property and have sold them, within a year for $20,000 profits. So at Phoenix, again, we looked at the market. We said, listen, this is a market that blew up in the expansion when everything was going up in the appreciation, and then it got hit really hard. But here's all these houses that were built in 2000, 2001, 2006, 2007 that they were selling for $300,000, $400,000. Well, we're able to buy them, do some renovations, put a tenant in place, and do all of it, and sell them between $80,000 to $120,000. So that market's taken off. It's gone big. The next market we're looking at, after evaluating about 5 good markets for this, is we're settling in on I don't know if I should even say it. Lou, can I break it out there?
Yeah, it's up to you. Yeah.
Dallas, Texas is going to be our next appreciation market. So we've identified that Dallas is going to be the next one that's really going to start swelling again as far as appreciation goes.
So that's what we were saying before with the categories, guys. Remember that they had some that were pending. So obviously, that's when do you look at moving into that or offering that to our clients? Dallas.
Yeah.
When?
Sorry?
Yeah, probably in the next.
Well, I'm moving down there myself October 1st to set up shop. So we've already got some things in play. By the end of October, we got the boot camp.
Yeah.
Or the city tour, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So October 30th, we're going to be in Dallas, so we better be up and running by then.
See, and Tyler just put a great point up because we do take clients every year either over to the US or we do the boot camps here. So these two guys will be heading up that boot camp, actually educating you and introducing you to the other players that are on the ground and the other team members that they work with, and then taking you around the country to either buy the properties that you see, or just as a tax deduction, check out the properties you've already bought in the past. So you guys will be there.
Yeah,
Vegas?
Oh, yeah.
We'll be there.
I wonder why we put it in Vegas.
Jamie's birthday.
Jamie's birthday. That's it.
Good place to start.
Yeah, it's a good place to start.
I want to add something to Ben, the slide before. I don't know if everybody heard that, but a year and a half ago, we were in Phoenix, and properties we were selling for $80,000. We sat up on stage and said, this is our capital appreciation market. These properties will go up in value. If you think about it, the properties that were 2005, 6, and 7 build that we were selling down there, they were $300,000, maybe $250,000 to $300,000 4 years before. Now we're selling them for $85,000 to $100,000 with 10% return on investments. And Phoenix has a very strong economic base. And there was no way for anybody to build a new house or sell a new house until those houses that were built in 4, 5, or 6, 2004, 5, or 6, at least had reached the cost to reproduce. And we were saying, you know what, these things have to at least go up to that cost to reproduce. And here it is a year and a half later, clients who bought stuff for $89,000 are selling it for $120,000, $125,000 who had 10% growth. So, we're looking for that next market, that lightning in a bottle. It's hard to find. It's kind of moved around. It was Phoenix, it was Atlanta Atlanta's kind of drying up, and now we're opening a new one. But we've got the other 3 kind of mainstay markets of 15 to 20% cash on cash return, and actually maybe higher if we lever that, who have a little bit of appreciation, but you're earning income while you're waiting. But within those markets, what's even more important is how we actually locate the properties. Like in Phoenix, we had to say, okay, in downtown Phoenix, you know what, we don't think there's going to be a lot of appreciation. Way out in the suburbs, there's not going to be a lot of appreciation. But kind of in the middle ground, where there's a lot of management type people, white collar type workers, where homeowners were going to live, that was the appreciation area. Similarly, in Indianapolis and Kansas City, you don't want to go too far down in the city, because down in the cities in Kansas City, it's a little bit rough. Or in the Midwest, or in any city in America, it's a little rough. But if you go further out in the suburbs, it's a little too nice. So the cost of the house is too much in comparison to the rent. So you got to kind of find that equilibrium point of where's my low entry cost, but my rent is still high. Kind of that blue collar worker area. So that's what Kansas City, St. Louis, and Indianapolis are. They're that blue collar mainstay where you're going to get a solid 15 to 20% return. You're not going to get this huge appreciation, but you're going to get a little appreciation. These aren't high flyers. They're just like a good solid investment. Just keeps trucking year after year.
So you guys go out, you select the town that you're going to buy, then you go and buy the properties.
Yep.
And then if needed, tell us about the renovations and the tenants and stuff like that.
Basically, here's what we do. In all the cities we do business in, the long and short of it is this. Anybody in this room can go do what we do. Really, you could. You get on a plane, fly to LA, 15 hours, go search all these cities out, find some way to buy these properties cheap, get them renovated, get them tenanted. But the long and the short of it is this. In all these cities, we've been doing business for so long that some of the banks, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, these large institutions come to us and say, okay, Tyler, we've got a bulk of 100 properties we want to take down. Do you guys have cash to close next week? Well, yeah, we do. So we go take down 100 properties for cheap. We go to tax sales, mortgage foreclosure sales. We're experts at all these things. Now, you can learn how to be an expert at these things, but we've been doing this for 13, 14 years. So we're getting properties already in a depressed market for as cheap as we possibly can. So it's a depressed market, and we're even getting them cheaper in that market. And then on top of that, how many people in here have ever tried to hire a handyman or a contractor or something to do work on their house here in Australia? Is anybody? Yeah. Okay, I mean, how easy is it to deal with those people, making sure they're on time to work, making sure their bids come in right, making sure that you're not getting screwed over, for lack of a better term? It's tough. I mean, it's a pain in the butt. So, we manage that process, and we don't really subcontract. We have our own construction company. So we buy as cheap as possible. We own the construction company. So our cost basis is as cheap as it possibly can be. And then the other piece of this is the property management. And we basically go into all the cities we've got. We lever our position as a large company with the smaller property managers, and we basically impose our will on them, for lack of a better term. We take a medium-sized property management company who understands our markets, and we say, okay, we're going to give you a ton of product, but you better give us A-rate service. Here's our clients from New Zealand, Australia, China, India, wherever it may be. These people have expectations. They have things that they need. We basically impose our core values into these companies and make them what we need them to be. So we take a lot of time and effort to have the right property management, because as an investor, you're only as good on the back end as your property management, which is what Warren Buffett said. He also said, that property management piece is a big deal. So we choose companies that are kind of middle range that we can control in some ways to make sure they do what they need to be doing.
One thing I'll add to the renovation side is that we are investors. We own rental properties ourselves. We know what the things to do when we do the reno to keep those maintenance costs low on the back end. For instance, and we'll spend a little bit more on that cost in order to make sure it's a lower cost down the road. One of those things, semi-gloss paint. Most investors that are buying and selling houses and flipping are using a flat-base paint, well, because it's cheaper, okay? Semi-gloss paint, it's a little bit more expensive, but when you're doing a tenant turnover, let's say, for an example, and you've got to go in and touch up some paint and do some things, instead of having to repaint the whole house, semi-gloss, you can just go in and wipe the smudges off. So you save a lot of money there. We have a hardwood floor technique that we use on hardwood floors that they say we pull up the carpet and the hardwood floors are in good condition, but they've been stained from pets or whatever the case may be, and you can't really pull out the fresh gloss of the floor. We have a way to go in and smooth those out, finish them out. We put an exterior paint on there. We cover it with a couple coats of polyurethane. They shine, they sparkle, they're well protected. And if they get scratched or damaged or whatever somehow, it costs you a couple $100 to redo the whole house that way, versus having a couple $1,000s to redo carpet. So just some of those little things that we've learned, we've perfected, just these little techniques, we're able to pass on to you guys. Another thing about the management, I think probably one of the biggest concerns, and raise your hand if you're with me here, if I was a foreign guy, and say I was buying here in Australia, my biggest concern would probably be, who is this manager and is he going to take care of me? Is that a concern? Do you have that concern? Okay. And the other concern I would say is, I'm just one guy with maybe a couple of houses. I'm a couple thousands of miles away. If I need some service or I get in trouble, am I going to be communicated with? And what kind of service am I going to be? I'm just one guy and I'm thousands of miles away. Well, when you tap into our network and you do business with us, you're able to, really that's it, you're really able to piggyback off our influence with the managers. If there's ever a case that you can't get something done, believe me, we can get it done, just because of the influence that we have with our partners.
And, Joel and Kartik and Sunny, they painstakingly stay up all night to actually communicate with these guys, because when they're waking up, our guys should be going to bed. But so, you've got the Australian component, which is under the arm of 21st Century, that will tap into these guys. So just regarding the tenants, Ben, so just say someone comes in, what's the average lease for the tenants that we've got for the houses you've got over there?
Average lease term as lease by lease is 12 months.
12 months.
Okay, so you get your 12-month lease. Now, our average tenancy rate is 3 to 5 years. Yeah. So one tenant typically stays in the property for 3 to 5 years. few cases the tenants might move out after the first year. There's some cases where tenants will stay in the property for 10 years.
Yeah, so when it's the same as here in Australia. That's a real concern that we have here in Australia when the tenants move out, but we expect the property managers to actually find new tenants, right? So you guys do exactly the same as what we'd expect here?
Absolutely.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, so some people figure out, okay, how can we get into this? Like a lot of people, as I said, you can use either your lines of credit, from your home, or you can get equity, or you can speak to any of our finance specialists on how to access Australian funds. I'll be bringing up Warren shortly to talk about how people are doing it through a self-managed super fund. So you want to actually rely on those people that have the skill, the qualification, and the knowledge to give you the best advice so you can make the best decision. But what about, so just say people have got finance in Australia they can access, sell something, get equity line of credit, but you guys offer also some US finance. Is that true?
It is true. Finance is a funny thing. Imagine if a foreigner were to come to Australia and I say, look, I want to go to the bank and get a loan. They'd probably laugh me out of there. A lot of the Australians that we were dealing with were trying to go to banks and say, hey, I want a loan. And the first thing they say is, well, where's your social security number? Oh, okay, well, see ya. Last year I was here and people were talking about finance and can you get finance and I've got enough money for one property but I want to buy two. And so finance has always been tricky. It's been tough to do. We've had a few private finance companies that have sort of come and gone and said, yeah, we can do this, we can do that. Turns out they couldn't do it. At the end of the day, it just was not solid at all. Now, last year we were working on providing a solution. This year we actually have that solution and we've ran it through a few times. We've tested it, we've beat it up, we've turned it up inside out. We have a proven, solid, well-funded private equity firm that is able to fund all of our clients. And the rates are pretty simple. It's a 50% LVR, is that?
Yeah.
50% LVR, and it's a 12% interest, 12% interest per year. I can go into a little bit of the finance. There's some benefits of finance. Obviously, you can increase your buying power. Right now, Jamie talked a little bit about it. You talked a little bit about the fact that we're the currency exchange right now. We're at 105 today. We're usually at a weighted average of 70. So there's a huge swing in currency. The U.S. housing prices are still low, although they're on the rise. So you've got this big swing in not only your strength of your currency, but the average price of the home, which creates this window of opportunity that we've never seen yet in our lifetimes, and maybe never will. I'm going to use the board here to talk a little bit about finance real quick. I'm going to use some round numbers and some averages. I just want you to understand the concept more or less than anything of how leverage helps to do two things. It increases your cash on cash return, okay? So it increases your cash flow percentage. And it also, in this case, it doubles your appreciation. Okay, so with a 50% lend, it doubles your appreciation. We'll talk about that just here. So we've got a $50,000 house. And it rents for $900 a month, or $10,800 per year. Okay, if you just bought this in cash, first scenario cash, and I'm going to use gross return numbers. Typically, we don't talk in gross return. We always talk in net return. But for simplicity of math here, I'm going to speak in gross return. Okay. So to get your return, obviously you take your annual cash flow in your pocket, divided by what you outlaid in the beginning. So in this case, your gross is 21.6%. That's your gross return. Everybody understands that concept? Your total that you received in income divided by the cost that you put out. Okay, that's your gross return. Now, if you use a 50% lend on this, let's just see how it works the numbers here. Half of this is $25,000. We'll put cash. This is out of your pocket. And then you have a loan. In this case, you'll have a loan. The private lender that we use doesn't charge any upfront finance fees, which some of the lenders do. This lender has an origination fee that he tacks on to the back end of the loan. So and it's a $3,000 origination fee. So your loan on this property, instead of being $25,000, he puts that $3,000 origination fee on the back. So your loan is $28,000. Okay, it's 12% interest only per year, which works out to be 1% interest per month. So your loan payment per month is $280, and your loan payment per year is $3,360. I'm going to run out of paper here real soon, I think. So to get your cash-on-cash return, and you see how the return increases, we'll take your $10,800, we'll subtract your $3,360, and you've got $7,440. Now your cash in this case is 25 instead of 50, right? So if you've got a calculator, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think I'm pretty close here. Your 7,440, you divide that by 25,000, you end up with a net now, instead of 21.6, your return is now 29.7, roughly. So that's just how leverage helps to increase that yield. So you just jumped up 8 points on your cash-on-cash return just by using leverage. The way that it's going to double your appreciation, this is a pretty simple concept here. If you've got a $50,000 home and it goes up by 10%, you now have a $55,000 asset, correct? Now, if you only now in this case, again, you earned, this is a 10% appreciation, it was $5,000. If you only had $25,000 invested in this, okay, and it went up by $5,000, you're now earning, again, you're earning off the total value, not necessarily what you're putting into it. So your appreciation is off the total value of the asset. So in this case, you just double it. So this now went up to $5,000, it's 20%, right? And the appreciation on your money. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So,
that makes sense. Yeah.
Pretty simple, you know. Whenever you leverage, you're able to, at whatever percentage you're into it, right? So 50% leverage, you double your appreciation. Pretty simple math how that works, but it's just some of the benefits of finance. Now, Tyler and I were never huge proponents of finance. Again, we cash is king. We've seen the finance guys come and go. We've seen all the promises. We can have international investors, no problem, come on through. And it just plugs up the line. They never deliver. We're happy to say we've now worked it out. We've got a very well-funded private lender that works with our clients, and it's almost a seamless process.
And the process worked really beautifully for me. Last year when I bought the first US property I invested in, I used cash. So I used my own cash to do that. And then when I found out that we had a finance model, I actually decided to test it, right? So I actually went through the process for this duplex that I've just bought. So it was a very simple process. I did the numbers with Kartik and with the guys, and it was just the next natural step. So, if you've got money, use it. If you don't have money but you need finance, then take up the finance option, because there's no doc. You virtually needed to produce nothing. It was a 2-page document, wasn't it? We transferred the money into the AFEX account, which gave us the best locked-in Australian current rate, right? So if it was $1.04, it's locked in $1.04. If tomorrow it's $1.02, you're still locked in at $1.04, okay? And then the transfer funds were straight into the finance company. So you want a seamless, painless process. So, that's an option that's available for you guys.
One thing, I'll add, or you can add.
Doesn't matter.
With the private deal, it was a no-doc loan. Has anyone heard of these no-doc loans? We call them hard money loans in the States. Okay, there's no underwriting on the borrower itself. All the underwriting is done on the asset or the home. And so the lender, when we started talking with the lender, they had pretty strict criteria on the asset itself. Now imagine they're putting 50% of this thing just like you are. They're your partners in this deal. And so they had to come out, they visited our properties, they ran through us, they had to meet us all before they were comfortable at all in lending on the properties that we deliver. So basically what you have is a home that's been strictly underwritten by a large financial institution, and they're partnering with you 50-50 on the deal.
Yeah, excellent.
And I'm just going to add a little bit to that for just 2 seconds. I mean, what Ben just said, again, I don't know, I've been doing this for so long. It's almost impossible right now for an American to get a loan on an investment property. We've been chasing this phantom unicorn, this loan for Australians forever, for the last 3 years, and I have hated this process. Everybody comes to us, hey, we can loan to Australians. Okay, great. They try to, it doesn't work. Okay, we got another company that does it, another company. Well, this thing actually works. This lender that we've got Finally, we've got this thing dialed in. It literally takes 3 days to fund it. It's phenomenal. I mean, just for 2 seconds, I mean, I don't know if everybody caught this. I just want to see these numbers, but where is it? But if you look on here, I mean, to me, it's like, okay, you buy one for $50K, you're getting $10,008. But if you buy two with the same amount of money, $7,400 times two, so it's $15,000. So you're getting $5,000 more dollars a year. You're doubling your appreciation. You've got two houses. You've spread your risk. You've diversified. It's a phenomenal product. I don't know how long it'll last. I really don't. But we've got a phenomenal product right now, and we've tried to have this, and it hasn't been successful, but it's very successful right now. So.
Excellent. No, that's great. So if you want any finance questions, you can have the opportunity to hang out with these guys over the weekend. So let's keep moving forward. So what about the pitfalls? Tell us about, some of the things that have...
There's never been any pitfalls, no.
There is pitfalls. Typical American answer.
Here's the
pitfalls.
thing. When you invest in properties, it doesn't always go right. And that's just the long and short of it. When you invest in anything, okay, we're talking about 15 to 20% return cash on cash, or if you're getting a loan, maybe up to 25, 28, whatever returns. When there's a high return, there can be risk. We have the appreciation. There's always risk. Now, we have had some properties that didn't work out the way we wanted. I would say 9.5 times out of 10, everything works the way we want. But 1 to a half time out of 10, it doesn't. Ben deals a lot with that stuff, but we take a lot of negatives and turn them into positives. So we've got some examples of some stories. There's a couple people in the audience, I think, that might even be representatives of these stories.
I think there are. I'm not going to name names, but we have a property in Kansas City on 67th Terrace. And we had done everything right. The renovation came out beautifully. We had the tenant, placed the tenant. Somewhere along the line between us handing it to the property management company and them taking over, they dropped the ball in actually getting this thing. And this particular tenant was a Section 8 tenant. We don't have a lot of time to talk about what all that is, but basically that's a government-assisted tenant. So there's a process where you take that tenant's information and you go walk it through the Section 8 process. They give you a confirmed rental amount and the whole 9 yards. Again, the PM dropped the ball on this, and so here's this tenant, and we think it's just ticking along, no problem. Next thing you know, the owner's not collecting any rent. And then it's contacting the tenant, it's going back, okay, great, this is, 6 months down the road, we're having to come back around to figure this whole thing out. And it took a little while to figure it out. Now, it turns out in this case, the tenant wanted to leave. Okay, great. So the tenant sort of was living there rent-free. They figured out that we caught on to the deal. And so what happened was long and short, that tenant moved out. We went in. There was some minor touch-ups that we did. We went in and touched it up. We got a new tenant in there, leasing fees, the whole 9 yards. And we basically made the client whole, got a new tenant in there. The nice thing is the rental amount came back actually higher than what we'd estimated before. So that was, it was a negative situation that we turned into a positive. One of the things, Tyler, we talk about in our company all the time, the only way to have longevity in this thing is to do the right thing at every turn. And again, we're no dummies. We've been in this property game for a long, long time. It doesn't always go as planned. When it doesn't go as planned, we'd like to think that we're the guys that turn around and do the right thing. And we do want longevity in our business, and that's why we do those things.
Okay, so we'd love to have longevity on this stage, but we've got to whip through. So let's take them straight into the areas that we're doing. Yeah?
Okay, great. Phoenix, Arizona. We talked about this a little bit. High capital appreciation market. The homes that were built in the 2000s. This is a market now it's tough to even do business in there. We've tapered our business out of Phoenix, Arizona, and we're going to start really hammering hard on Dallas as our next appreciation market. Here's a property that one of our members purchased on Hearn Road. You can see the market peak of 280, the price that was just under 90, producing a 9% yield. Here's another one. This is in Goodyear, Arizona. Really nice property here. Estimated peak in the low 2s. Priced, half of that, and had almost a 9% net yield. Kansas City. Tyler, you want to hit Kansas City?
I will. Kansas City, Missouri. This is more of a cash flow type area. We get returns anywhere from 15 to 22% in Kansas City. Kansas City's great because it's got a lot of industry. There's a lot of corporations there. Like I said, it's got a great economic base where a lot of people keep jobs and have jobs. The best thing about Kansas City is this. It's got such a strong economic base, but there's still quite a few foreclosures on the market, so the entry cost is very low. We're talking about houses from 40 to 60 grand. It's cheap, but rents that are so high, we can get that high cash-on-cash return. Kansas City is probably my favorite market, but whatever.
Yeah.
Here's a house on 77th Terrace, 15.54 yield, $51,000 price, used to be $86,000. Here's another one. This was a good one, 49th Terrace. Actually, this one was bought at a tax sale, 15.75 net yield, $31,000 purchase price. I mean, it's crazy.
Who believes that they could find 31,000 if they had to and get 15% return?
Yeah,
you know?
It's crazy.
It is crazy, that price. How come I missed out on that one? I didn't see that one.
We only give the good ones to the clients.
I think you're hiding some from me.
This one's a little bit more expensive area, Kansas City. It's only got a 10.89 yield. Very nice house, very nice neighborhood, was $90,000. This was a big, nice one, 14.0% net return. It was a $100,000 property. Actually, we sold this one for way cheaper than this 103. That's wrong. This is actually a $60,000 property.
So that's a 6-bedroom, 3-bathroom.
For $60,000, I don't know where this 103 came from, but that was a $60,000 sales price.
So 6-bedroom house.
Yep.
So is
Nice
it a
house.
duplex or is it just a one house?
It's just a 1-bedroom. I'm sorry, a 1 unit. It's just a 1 unit, just a huge 1 unit. St. Louis, again, another Missouri city of ours. We get huge returns on these. This was a duplex, 21.12% return. As a matter of fact, I think you were involved in this one in some way, shape, or form. But we got a lot of great properties in St. Louis.
Atlanta.
Atlanta was one of our markets that was sort of a hybrid. You could get decent rental returns, not quite as high as Indianapolis or Kansas City, but you could get high returns, but you also had a decent amount of appreciation potential rather. Atlanta, I mean, home to major 500 Fortune companies. It's a major hub of economics in the southwest part of the United States. It is here 10 best cities for buyers rating. Atlanta is number 1. Atlanta is a great market. Now, here's the thing about Atlanta. It was a hybrid market of ours, and we say hybrid, we're talking about high cash flow and we talk about high capital appreciation potential. Atlanta offered not sort of the best of either one of those worlds, but a mix of both of those. What we're seeing in Atlanta right now, Atlanta has picked up light. The demand is phenomenal right now in Atlanta. It's hard to even buy properties anymore. They've got huge institutional hedge funds that are buying there now. Atlanta is sort of, we had a good window, and the window is sort of is drawing to an end. We probably won't be doing business that much longer in Atlanta, so if you're interested in Atlanta, I'd say now's the time to get in there. Here's one. Look at the numbers in Atlanta. Atlanta had a big drop off from estimated peaks. This one was 160 back in the heyday, just under 60,000 now. Net yield just over 12%. This one here, nice brick single-story ranch, almost 120 in the peak, sold for 55,000 roughly, 12% yield here.
Indianapolis, this is another good one. This is another Midwest city. We've got prices anywhere from 30,000 to 60,000. A lot of duplexes, high rates of return in Indianapolis. Let's see what we got there. I don't know anything about this one. Oh, here it is. 16.9% net yield, 4-bedroom, 2-bath. We got a lot of big, beautiful houses there. This was a really good one. Actually, I was in this a couple weeks ago. $48,000 house, 15% return. Very nice house, great area. Before we go, can I close up with this? Real quick?
Absolutely.
Give me 2 minutes. Okay, here's what I want to say. You were going to ask me about general market conditions overall in America.
Yeah.
Here's where we're at right now. And I always tell my guys this, my employees, 2 things. First of all, one thing Ben said. At every turn, we try to do the right thing. We try to buy in the right areas. We rehab right. We put the tenants in right. There's a lot of people in this business. Some people do the right thing. Some people don't. We want to do this forever. So we always take the high road. The other piece of this is this. In the market, I've been doing business for a long time. I've hired guys. I've made them really successful, and they branch off and try to do their own thing. It's whatever. I mean, it irritates me, but it is what it is. And then they fail 2 or 3 years later, and they're always like, well, Tyler, what's going on? You know, what are you doing now? What's the new thing? And I always say the same thing. To me, there's facts that are always underlying in the real estate market, okay? These are things we cannot change. So you just have to look at what's the market doing today and how can I capitalize on that market. I've just made these little drawings here. The market, real estate market goes like this. There's peaks and there's valleys, peaks and there's valleys. It's a circular cycle. In America, back in the 80s, everybody in the world could get a loan in America. They loaned on too many properties. The fallout happened at the end of the 80s. All of a sudden the market crashes. Properties are real low. For a few years, everybody can buy properties for cheap. No one's loaning on any properties. Uh-oh, here comes the end of the 90s, early 2000s. Now, if you've got a heartbeat and a social security number, we'll loan you a property. It's amazing. So the market's going high, high, high. Now it's low. Right now, you have to think, what are the facts? What are the underlying facts of the market? And here's the facts for you guys. The Australian dollar is still pretty high. It was really high. It's still higher than it usually is. So your buying power is stronger than it's ever been, one. Two, in USA, the property value is as low as we've ever seen it. So these two things, if your Australian dollar dips any further, say you were to buy a property today and your currency went down to 90 cents, let's say, against the dollar, well, you'd realize a 17% gain. I think that's about what that is immediately. You could sell your property and immediately do your Forex exchange for 17%. Or USA property could go up. So where we're at in the real estate cycle, you let those things dictate your strategy. So right now, the best strategy is take whatever money you've got, invest it in properties that are cheap, and let that ride. Just like Warren Buffett, he's a value investor. Right now, there's a lot of value, so that's what you do. We can't change those things. Those are the facts of the market. 2 years from now, there'll be a different set of facts, and those things will change. People always ask me, where's the United States market going, Tyler? Well, let me tell you where it's going. Right now, I've got funds beating my door down, and you know these funds come into town. Big, huge equity players. This tells me the market's changing. These huge equity funds are coming to me saying, Tyler, we want 100 properties a month, 200 properties a month. What can we do to get them? You know, they've heard what Warren Buffett has said. So all these huge institutions are now coming to us trying to buy properties. All of a sudden, banks are kind of starting to whisper, okay, hold on, let's start loaning to Americans again. How do we underwrite some loans for Americans on this investment property? Things are starting to stabilize. So all this means to me is the demand for the properties is about to come in. All the funds are coming in, then the big banks will come in, and they're going to start swallowing up these foreclosures. This is going to drive prices back up. I don't know how much longer we have to act, but the market's changing again. So I don't know how much longer this arbitrage opportunity will last, but that's what's going on in the market right now.
Now, he's a chartered accountant, and he's the senior financial number cruncher pretty much for the 21st Century Group of companies. So all of Jamie's companies, he heavily relies on Kartik to get the numbers right. So he's got 10 years experience in accounting, 4 years with 21st Century, and it's the first time that he's ever spoken to more than 3 people in his life. So welcome him to the stage, Kartik Gupta.
Good evening, guys. How are you doing? Hey. Thank you. Okay, I'll just give you guys a quick background on myself. I've done my graduation in commerce in 2001. I did 1 year with a private bank in India, and then I enrolled for chartered accountancy. I completed my CA course, and I was picked up by GE Capital as management trainee. I worked there for a year and a half, and then moved to Australia in 2006. When I came to Australia, I applied for accounting roles, and I got a job as a financial accountant within like first month when I moved here. And I worked with a company called Bristol Myers Squibb for a year and a half, and then I joined 21st Century in 2008.
So you saw the light, right?
And I'm still here. I joined as business analyst, and I've progressed into the role of senior financial analyst, and I've been doing multiple projects since last 4.5 years. And in the last 18 months, I'm actively engaged with the US property division. The main KPIs for our suppliers in the US property division are to make sure that the clients can get the capital appreciation, which we aim for. And the best thing which the suppliers do is basically try and get the HUD and the foreclosed properties for our clients. Short sales, distressed sales, that's where like we can definitely make capital appreciation. Another objective is to get high cash flow positive returns, and we aim to get around 15% net cap rate. And what net cap rate means, I'll go through my presentation in detail. I'll show you what gross rent means, what net rent means, and I'll go with the bullet points. So this is another KPI for Mr. Ben Bernanke. So let's play the video, please.
1%, the unemployment rate is nearly unchanged since the beginning of the year and is well above normal levels. To help bolster the recovery and promote price stability, the FOMC has provided unprecedented levels of policy accommodation in recent years. With inflation anticipated to run at or below our 2% objectives, the committee has become convinced that further policy accommodation is warranted to strengthen the recovery and support the gains we've begun to see in housing and other sectors. Specifically, the committee decided to purchase additional agency mortgage-backed securities, or MBS, at a pace of $40 billion per month. The program of MBS purchases should increase the downward pressure on long-term interest rates more generally, but also on mortgage rates specifically, which should provide further support for the housing sector by encouraging home purchases and refinancing. And if we do not see substantial improvement in the outlook for the labor market, we will continue the MBS purchase program, undertake additional asset purchases, and employ our policy tools as appropriate until we do.
So this is what exactly Mr. David Koshi said today. Like, this was the third best thing which happened in the last 2 weeks. What Mr. Bernanke was saying was they're buying $40 billion worth of mortgage-backed securities every month for an unlimited period of time. And what that means is basically it's going to kick back the housing recovery. And this is basically happening because the unemployment rate is really high. It's more than 8%. And this is one of the stimulus package which was just given 2 days ago. So this is going to be a big factor to recover the housing market. We'll now discuss on the high cash flow positive properties and go through these terms. Gross rent is basically the estimated market rent for the property. Total costs, which are included, are property management cost, which is approximately 8% of the gross rent. Insurance, this is paid upfront when you purchase a property, and it's approximately 3.5% of gross rent. You pay property taxes, just similar to land and rate taxes in Australia. So that's around 8% of the gross rent. We provide 4 to 4.5% for repairs and vacancies. So pretty much like it's 24% costs, which are deducted from the gross rent, and you end up making 75 to 77% net rent. So that's the net cap rate. This is an interesting example. I'll just do it on the flip chart.
We could just leave it on the slide, Kartik. Otherwise, you'll run out of paper. Yeah, because that's fine.
So this is an example of Australian property, how much returns you can make on an Australian property. For a $500,000 property, your gross rent is $2,000. So per annum, you'll be making $24K. Your costs are approximately $1,200 for property management, $750 for insurance, around $1,250 for rents and taxes, and other provisions of $1,000. So you end up making $19,800 net rent on a $500,000 property, which is around 4%. Your interest is $33,750 on a $500,000 loan. So you're basically losing $14,000 on that. In comparison to a US property, let's say, for example, you buy 2 properties for $50,000 each. The gross rent is $2,000. Usually you get $1,000 for a $50,000 property. So your gross rent is $24K. Property management at 8% is $1,920. Your insurance is $1,000. Rates and taxes on 2 properties approximately $1,900, and other provisions of $1,000. So you end up making net rent of $18,000, which is equivalent to net return of 18%. So now if you compare these 2 examples, what you see is like, if you invest $500,000 in US, you end up making $57,150 in comparison to losing $14,000 in Australia. So this is what exactly our clients see, and it's a massive potential. And that's how they benefit from net cash flow positive properties.
So obviously, you know, Australians love Australian property, and we do rely heavily on the capital growth on that. So, but it's just being able to just make an assessment that, well, we know that we have Australian real estate produces really well for us. So why not balance that with, you know, as I said, no stamp duty, that could be the cost of your next house. So we need to really quickly, we probably don't need to actually increase on these, because we've touched on this quite a fair detailed bit. But I just want you, if you could quickly just explain the...
So this is an impact of foreign exchange fluctuations. And in this example, the client has purchased properties worth 100,000 USD. So if the currency is at 1.05, he ends up paying only 95,238 Australian dollars. And let's assume that after 2 years, the currency bounces back and the USD bounces back and it goes down to 0.90 AUD. What it would mean is that the valuation of that property, the currency valuation of that property will be $111,000. So that means the client end up making 17% just in foreign exchange gains. And similarly, if they are accumulating their rental money in the US, then they'll make 17% on the rental income as well.
Okay, so Kartik, we'll just have a look at these are the properties that Kartik had up. So you've got sold at 58,000.
Yeah, we've sold this property for
$58,000.
This property was giving a gross rental return of $1,300. Which means 27% gross return and net return of 21%.
So you've got it as 2 units. So the good thing about a duplex or a unit is that even if while you're waiting for the transfer of a client, then you've still got the rent of that. So if we look at Bill bought this is a testimonial that Bill gave us, so it's a bit hard for me to read, but highlighted 58,000 with 2 tenants earning $1,300 per month. Who actually likes the idea of receiving that for a $58,000 purchase? Absolutely. So 21st Century virtually did everything, set it up, located the property, the existing tenants, completed the renovations, organised the property managers, the insurance bank accounts. Then the second property he bought was 47,000 in Indianapolis, which returned $805 per month, and paid cash for both properties in Australia, which was like a 10% deposit for a residential property here. The next one he sold was 57,000 with a net return
giving a gross return of
17,000.
Yeah, and this is a summary of property management statement. So net return of 17.17%, and if you go to the next slide, this is a summary of property management.
Well, we'll have to watch it later. Okay.
Yeah.
So stay with us. But what Kartik's going to do, he's available to actually go through to show you the rental statements, etc. You can book in for an opportunity, an appointment with Kartik. So we've got, this is the guy from Byron Bay. He bought these 2 properties mainly from Kartik, Joel and Sunny. Had no problems, saved him heaps of grief. He couldn't have purchased the properties on his own. So just grab a seat, but just give Kartik a quick round of applause. I hate to rush him, but we're on a really tight time frame. If I can quickly now just bring up our next sexiest man. He's done 10 years in the ATO. Many of you already know who he is. His name is Mr. Warren Black. He's a qualified accountant, lawyer, did 10 years at the ATO, accomplished pianist, and the second best looking man, who writes this stuff? Second best looking man on the planet, ladies and gentlemen, raise your arms for Warren Black.
If you take too long, you can be too late. This time I'm waiting to win. Come and stay, so wait around for another chance.
So thanks Warren, thanks for coming all the way from, wait a while, you travelled over?
All the way from Perth, WA, Lou.
I know. It's
amazing,
beautiful.
isn't it, from that amazing land.
So Warren, we don't have much time, so I just want to ask you a couple of questions, which are the main ones that, firstly, how do Australians go about investing, like the structure side of it, through into the US?
Yep. Yes, I get asked this one all the time, and there's a couple of ways you can do it. One is to invest in your own personal funds. So let's say you've got 40, 50, 100 grand. You just invest personally. And the second way, which a lot of I find people are doing, is investing through super. And I'm doing it myself through super. It's a great investment through super because it's a long-term investment. The prices are very, very low. And of course, as Lou and the team have been showing you, the cash flow is quite good, and we've been very happy with what I've personally bought in my super. So it's a great investment in terms of getting cash flow and long-term. Now, just keep in mind, if you're going to be buying in super, there's some very strict tax office and compliance rules. And what you'll find is if you go to your normal accountants and do that, most likely they'll be confused. And it's certainly, at the very least, they're going to need some kind of guidance, because if you're going to be buying it through a super fund in America, you've got to have things like a special bare trust agreement. You've got to have certain ways you structure your super fund membership, your LLC membership, and it's very strict. And auditors have basically told us that if you don't meet the requirements, they'll do what's called breach it. So, in short, you can do it either through your self-managed fund or through your personal funds. It's easiest through your personal funds. You would just set up your LLC, as Lou and the team have told you about, which is a limited liability company. You would have your members set up either as yourselves, or if you really want to have good asset protection, you have a family trust set up, okay? So you'll have a family trust. I will mention this more briefly tomorrow too when I'm speaking in the morning session. I'll be having my own session in one of the breakout rooms. But so either one, buy it in your own personal funds, which means use your LLC. Ideally have a family trust as a member rather than yourself. Or secondly, if you've got some cash in super and you haven't got a self-managed fund and you want to set one up, or you have got a self-managed fund, well, use it, put the cash into it if that's what you want to do, and we can help you structure it to make sure you've got the bare trust agreement set up properly, to make sure your members are done correctly in it, and just pretty much also you'll need a copy of a US lawyer's opinion. So that's the third thing you'll need, confirming that the bare trust agreement's enforceable in America, otherwise you'll breach the compliance as well. So in simple terms, it's complex to do it through super, but a great way to do it and get started.
So as I said, Warren is done as part of the team. He'll be coming over to Vegas with us.
Yeah, I'm in Vegas, definitely. Wouldn't miss it for the world. Buying some more property, hopefully.
Yeah. So Warren will be one of the speakers at the US boot camp, and it'll be good because you'll be able to have the relationship of the accountants in the US on the ground and the ones that we have here. You know, his role is to actually look after all of our clients. Me personally, over the last 3 or 4 years, Warren and Derek have actually set up a number of company and discretionary family trusts for my trading and my real estate Australia and also overseas. At one point, my husband was getting deployed again, and they did the structure under a new company, a new discretionary trust, and then we set up the limited liability company, and they did that within about 48 hours. The hardest thing I actually had to do was come up with a really sexy title for my next company, that's all.
I remember that, yeah.
Yeah. But it was good because, you know, he got the result for me, and he's worked with many people. So what about, one last question, what about the capital gains? A lot of people ask about how does that affect Australians? Do we pay it, or how does that work?
Yeah, look, unfortunately, you will pay tax in both American wants their slice of the pie and the Australian government wants their slice of the pie. The good news is you won't have to pay tax twice, okay? So if you pay tax in America, the Australian government do recognise that, and is what's called a foreign tax credit. So the short answer is you will pay tax in America and in Australia, but you won't pay tax twice. So yeah, so the short answer is you'll get foreign tax credits, but you will need to lodge a US tax return when you're over there.
Excellent. So Warren will be available for the next few days. He's got an appointment, a stand up the top on the level 1. He's also speaking. What time are you speaking tomorrow?
I'm speaking tomorrow at 8:50 in the breakout room and going to teach some pretty sexy strategies.
And I believe it's in P2, which may be out there somewhere.
Yep,
so look for P2. We'll be presenting, and he'll be able to go detailed. But if you want an appointment with Warren, or you
just
want
go
an
out
appointment,
to our stand up, the 21st century accounting stand. Yep.
So both of our number crunchers, our accountants, lawyers, give Kartik and Warren a beautiful warm welcome. Thanks, guys, for coming. And they'll be up the back. Okay, now. All right, now, as I said, that's pretty much it. It was a bit rushed. I apologise for that. Sometimes it's, you know, Americans speak a little slower, Indians speak a little faster, so it's a matter of just juggling it. I just speak normal, right? Nice and laid back. Okay, so now, those people who want to see the opportunity for what it is, as I said, it's up to you. Many people have already jumped on that. Jamie has, I have, and many other clients. So we have 2 types of memberships. Now, it is separate to the 21st Century Education membership. However, if you and when you enrol into this, you will also get Jamie's core product, which is the same offer that he just gave you. So you get all of that included in this membership if you're not a member. So you've got the option to just start with one house. So if you want one house, right, we will send you over there to a US boot camp. We'll take you on a 3-city tour. So you go to those 3 or 4 places, check out the houses. If you buy them, great. If you don't, well, that's fine as well. All right, so your membership entitles you to that and the home study and all the training and learning. However, most of our clients come straight into a platinum, which entitles them to as many houses as possible within a 3-year period. As the last testimonial, Bill, who was a teacher, he bought one property, and then 3 weeks later, he went and bought another one and just upgraded. So if you want to get straight into platinum, it just means that you still get the boot camp, you get to bring your spouse, you get all the education on physical DVD, which is presented by Ben and Tyler. It's like 36 hours of content, 2 massive manuals, all the education, etc. But the main thing is, you can either go and do it yourself, or you can see the properties. Just say the property's 60 grand. For non-members, it may be 55,000. So you don't need to become a member to buy the houses. You can still buy the houses without being a member. And we'll still invite you to the boot camp, right? Because we want you to be educated. But the rest of the stuff you'll have to do on your own. You'll have to find your own title companies, you know, lawyers, inspectors, property managers and stuff like that. So if you're too busy and you want a team and you trust what we offer here at 21st Century, then just let us do it for you because it's much easier. Or do it yourself. It's entirely up to you. So basic is 1. Platinum is as many as you want. It's a full key service. As I said, we buy the properties, we renovate them, we tenant them. We put the tenants in place, we offer you up to 21% gross rent. Properties available as low as $35K. comprehensive due diligence, access to finance. You can speak to the guys, property management, record keeping, Australian accountants, no stamp duty, save $5,000. All the property managers, the suppliers. So imagine the time and energy that you guys would have to do if you did it on your own. Access to building inspectors, because you want it checked out before you actually settle on the property. Negotiate and finding title companies, insurance companies, US lawyers. We've done all this. You might as well just write on ours. We'll set up your US bank accounts. Mine's set up with Wells Fargo. That's where the rent goes into your US bank account, and I just leave my funds in the US. Right? And if I want to buy more properties, I just transfer money in and out of the US. You get an online banking thing, you get a little credit card. In fact, I'm taking my entire family, the 5 of us, we're hiring an RV, we're leaving on the 8th of October. We're traveling around as part of a family holiday, but also we'll incorporate it as a tax-deductible expense because we'll be there for the US property event, and we'll also look at more properties. So we'll organise everything for you. Okay, so you've got the choice of doing that. Basics, if you want one house or if you want two. Now, as I said, Caesar's Palace, 22nd, 24th of October will be the boot camp. That's where you learn everything about everything that I've taught you, and it's over 2 days, right? What we've tried to rush in like an hour 15, isn't justified. However, you'll learn all of that. We'll film that, and you guys will get that as well. 3-city tour to actually inspect the property, feel them, smell them, touch them, meet the tenants, meet the locals, see what your local community is. Right? Texas, Kansas City, Indianapolis. So it's a small bus crew to actually inspect all the properties, and a farewell party in Vegas, right? So we like to party hard. That's the itinerary. So you guys are more than welcome to come along to that. This is the group that we took last year. Some of you may be in the crowd. And I think from that group, if you just have a look at those photos, this is where they bought a series of properties, right? We just took them around in a bus. There's Daniel there filming it, and we'll film this again to create the new 21st century updated US property home study. So that was great. They had a great time. They purchased properties. This is this cute one that I just bought. Like when I looked at it, I went, my husband goes, "Oh, what an ugly house." I said, "You don't have to live in it, mate. All you have to do is look at the numbers, right?" But he's military thinker, so But the thing is, numbers, right? 17%. That's all I care about. Net return. That's what I'm getting. It's a duplex. It's another duplex. I like duplexes because I like the double income. If one moves away while you're waiting, you've still got another one. So Karsten's in the crowd. Karsten recently just locked down 4 properties in the US for a total of 220. Where are you, Karsten? So he's probably up here somewhere. There he is up there. So he locked down 4 properties, total value $225,000 with a gross rent return of $50K and a net annual income of $39,000. Is that incredible value, right? So he's an action taker. He's young. His wife's here. He's made a decision what he wants to do for his future. Aaron, this dude knocked on my door and stalked me, sent me a million emails saying, "I just watched Jamie's DVD, I've done the home study." He said, knock on the door and ask to work for free, right? That's what he said. So I just kept deleting his emails, and then he actually came into the office. In the end, we picked him up as an office cleaner or, just a support office admin helper, and now he works under me, and he's just bought himself another couple of properties. So in August, he freed up some cash from the stock market, bought his first 2 US properties, 34 from annual income of 17%, and then another one in Kansas of 47. So, he's up here. Where are you, Aaron? He's up the back there somewhere. Yep, there he is over there. He's the platinum table, so he's brand new to 21st century, an ex-member, well, he's still current member. Location. In this business, it is timing. The time is right for you right now. If you want this, go and get it. If you don't want it, don't go and get it. My time is up. Your time is now to get up, go to the back of the room. My name is Lou. Thanks very much.